It was a sunny but cold winter day. I was home and had come upon my brother with a devastated look on his face. "What happened?" I asked him. He then told me that his best friend, who lived just up the street from us, had died. I had no words. But as the shock crept through my body, freezing me in place, I managed to weakly tell my brother I was sorry. Looking out our window, we could see the ambulance at the house up the street. Eventually, it would take my brother's best friend's body away. The night before, my brother and his best friend had been at a party. When I picked him up, he was clearly buzzing from some heavy drinking, bouncing around in a good mood as we sang along to a Cameron song that we were blasting on the radio. When we got home, I went to bed, unaware that my brother would have his best friend and some others come over that night. They were in the room next to mine, and I could hear them talking, but still I managed to fall asleep. What I didn't know was that they had snorted drugs, opioid painkillers that they had crushed up. I later found out that when my brother's best friend left to go home that night, he hugged my brother and told him, "One day we'll raise our kids together." This prediction mirrored life in our neighborhood. All the parents were best friends and all the kids grew up playing together. A short while after speaking this hopeful prophecy, my brother's best friend would fall asleep and never wake up. Back to that same winter day, the ambulance had just left the house up the street when there was a knock at our door. It was the police. My parents and brother spoke with them. They said that they were investigating my brother's friend's death and wanted to search the house for drugs. My parents gave them permission to come in, and the entire family had to wait downstairs as the police tore my brother's room apart. I could see the guilt and the pain weighing on my brother, but still I had so few words. I had no idea what was going to happen to him, and I had no idea what the police might find. What they found were drugs, and they took them, leaving my brother's room in shambles. No charges were ever filed against my brother, but I knew he would struggle to come back from this, and I was worried about where he might turn to cope. It was another sunny day, this time in an unseasonably warm fall a few years later. My mother lay dying in our living room. She was at home on hospice care from the terminal cancer that was gradually overtaking her. The entire family was gathered around her in those final moments. Music was blaring on the TV, one of those 24-hour music stations that cable companies keep in the upper channels. And when the moment came, I knew instinctively to get up and, in one graceful movement, turn off the television. Rod Stewart's crooning quickly falling silent. I joined with my family, and we held my mother as she looked off into the corner and gave up her spirit. As we dealt with the funeral preparations for my mother's burial, her body still present in the living room, there was another knock at our door. My brother answered it, signing for and receiving a package. He took it with him, and I quickly realized what it was. The hospice nurse had requested that package, known as a comfort box. It contained powerful opioid painkillers, specifically designed for terminal patients in their final days. The nurse had made that request while my mom was still alive. Once I realized that everybody was distracted and that my brother had the box, I went after him up the stairs. Somehow I found the strength to say words that had eluded me years before. I told my brother he couldn't keep that box and we needed to hand it over. My brother told me, no! He would take care of it. I knew what that meant, and I begged him to give up the pills. In the depths of this dark time, I was worried about what he might do, so we argued. Now, I'm not bigger than my brother, and I couldn't physically fight him, so I did what all little brothers are notorious for. I snitched. I found my dad and told him that my brother had the comfort box and wasn't willing to turn it over. And so my father, taking up a role that my mother used to play, found my brother and got him to turn over the comfort box, which had given us anything but. The nurse then received the comfort box and destroyed its contents, never knowing the strife that it took to get them to her. I sometimes wonder what people would think if they knew. If they knew that the police had once searched my family's middle-class home like it was a fucking trap house. If they knew that on the day my mother was dead in our living room, that my brother and I, two members of a close, picture-perfect family, were bitterly fighting instead of consoling one another. Would they look down on us? Would they say that we got off easy because of our race or our class? I carry these memories and questions in a place deep inside me where even the strongest pills cannot kill the pain.